Hello Kingdom fans, welcome back to All About Kingdom, and today we'll be talking about our favourite person, General Shin, and whether or not he will get the promotion to a great general after the events of the Han invasion. Now, I want to make it clear, I do not expect him to be granted into the illustrious ranks of the 6 great generals. He still has a long way to go to be able to achieve that title. However, we do know that Shin, Wu Han, and Mu Ten have been promoted to the rank just under Great General, and to quote King Say, the absolute requirement for one of the 6 greats is prowess on the battlefield. So to fairly judge this, we have to take an objective look at Shin and if his accomplishments are on par with the 6 greats of the past and the present before they had become the 6 greats. Starting off with number 1, martial prowess. Now, I know what you're going to say, that you don't need martial prowess to be a great general because Koshu of the original 6 was a pure tactician. However, he is literally the only exception to this rule, and no other 6 great member have been a non-combative fighter. All the other 6 great members have at least somewhat a level of proficiency in some form of combat. I mean, even Wu Sen, the most strategical of the current 6 greats, uses a glaive when necessary, and we've seen that he can use it well enough. And needless to say, Shin is known all across the now 6 states for his martial prowess for a decade now, after racking up dozens of victories against some of the toughest fighters the other kingdoms had to offer, be it the likes of Kisha, one of Zhao's candidates of the next 3 grades, or more recently, his slaying of the 2nd general of Han, Haku Wu Koku. So yes, Shin easily meets this requirement. Now the second requirement will be tactical ability and adaptability. So to be fair, Shin has his pros and his cons in this category. So before you curse at me, just hear me out. In terms of proper tactics, Shin has always been lacking, but thankfully he has always had good lieutenants and other officers, not to mention an exceptional strategist, to cover for him in this area. Because unlike Shin's competition for great generals, aka Kyokai, Wu Han, and Mu Ten, they have always exceeded in tactics, be it to their education or just understanding of warfare, and over time Shin has improved, but not by much. But then we come to the adaptability factor, and this is where Shin shines brightest when comparing himself to his competition. As we all know, Shin is an instinctual type commander, and with this comes certain abilities that those who work solely by tactics cannot even understand. The most useful of these abilities being the ability to sense the heat of battle and deciding on where the best spot to light a fire is on the field of battle. I know this isn't an actual fire, this is where the fighting can be most intense, and if you act in time, you can ride that flame to the point of destruction where you can crush your enemies while dealing a massive blow to them also. Not to mention, since purely tactical commanders can't understand this, and the movements instinctual commanders make from this ability, it causes absolute chaos and confusion for them. It is thanks to this ability that instinctual type commanders can take on opponents that are of a much larger force than them. Some prime examples being the Battle of Hongo, where Shin on the right wing, which was 30,000 versus Enkan of Zhao 70,000, literally any DQ battle. So again, I think it's fair to say that this is another point for Shin. And then this brings us to arguably the most important requirement for a great general, and that is number 3, the weight of a general. Now this, in my mind, can be broken down into 3 areas. Number 1, the ability to inspire. Number 2, the aura of a general. And 3, the ability to unify. And it's only fair that I go into more detail about this. So it also goes without saying, Shin can inspire his men as well as any of the 6 greats, though they all have their own different methods, needless to say. But Shin inspires not just with his words, but also with his actions. Personally, I can't think of a better example of this for Shin than his battle at Kokoyu Hills, where he and his men are pushing past their limits and are exhausted And to inspire them, he says, if you're having trouble, then just look at my back and fight. All you need to do is look at my back and chase after me. Now, not only did this send chills down my spine, this also leads his men to become true monsters on the battlefield, which is something only the greatest of generals can do, especially the likes of Shin's mentors, Du Q and Wu Qi. And since then, we have seen him telling his men to just look at his back and follow his lead. And now we come to the aura of a general. What this is, we can't say for certain, but it has to be one of power and intimidation, and it can be mixed with other things. For example, Kanki had a horrifying aura of death about him. Mobu has one of just pure power, and the likes of Yotanma has a healthy mix of intimidation and grace, which is the best way I can put it. Now, Shin's aura, as we always thought, was good, but to citizens it comes off as a fierce warmth, or to quote Garo, he has a reek of blood about him, which I can understand if you don't know Shin. He has spilled a lot, and a lot more blood in his life than most people can even think of. And now we come to the ability to unify. I suppose you could see this also as inspiring, but it's different. At least it is in my eyes. To unify, I don't know how to explain this, but I can only give examples. And there is no better example of his ability than him unifying Nanyo. Thanks to To realizing Shin's capacity for it, he entrusted Shin to convince the people of Nanyo to accept the people of Kin and the rule of Kin. Now Shin, using truth as his weapon, Shin managed to calm the people of Nanyo and show that they aren't monsters, but people like them. He showed compassion and understanding to their troubles and their fears, and still treated them as equals and not people below him. Now, Shin meets all these requirements, so that's another point for him. But look at it this way, when you break it down into points like this, not all of the 6 grades can meet all 3 of these. The likes of Wusen, Kanki, and Hakuki of the original 6 can meet 1 and 2 no problem, but they could never unify a place like Nanyo. And before you say it, yes, I know Kanki and Wusen united their armies from different groups and the armies they defeated, but that's unifying by fear and threat of death. I can't see Wusen, Hakuki, and definitely not Kanki being able to unite a whole city or just a foreign nation or with compassion and truth like Shin did. I don't think they could do it even if they tried. And now this takes us to what is probably the most important requirement for a great general, and that is a long list of accomplishments, and as I said at the beginning, they need prowess on the battlefield. Now, I'm not going to make a list of all of Shin's accomplishments because that will take a very long time, but I will mention 3 things. Number 1, his critical role in the biggest expansions of Kin in the last decade. That being him slaying Rinko of the 4 Heavenly Kings, where he essentially halted the Wei main army advancement by slaying their commander. The Western Zhao invasion, where he led the right wing to victory, started the pincer attack on the Zhao headquarters, and defeated Hu Ken, another member of the Zhao 3 Heavens. And number 3, his victory against the Han army, being the vice commander of the entire Qin army, just under To, where the state of Han has now been absorbed by Qin. Now to point number 2, Shin has never been put in charge of a whole operation by himself. Although he has taken the lead in some campaigns, and he has never led a campaign with him being the main man in charge. You could make the arguments that he was in charge for attacks like IQ and maybe 1 or 2 others, but they are all part of another general's plan. He has never taken the lead from the beginning is what I'm trying to say. It isn't his plan, he always makes the battlefield center around him, which is another aspect of a great general, as we stated and agreed with by Mu Ten and Wu Han way back in the Western Zhao invasion. And third point, Shin's accomplishments have made actual and instrumental changes in every single battle, be it from his first campaign at the Dakan Plains, where he helped take the first hill from the Wei army so that Du Q can advance, or him slaying Haku Wu Koku of Han, therefore ruining Rakuakan's plan leading to his defeat in the Battle of Ate Plains. So obviously it goes without saying that Shin has made plenty of accomplishments, so he gets a point for that. And for the final thing a great general needs, number 5, a dream or ambition. Now every general has their own dream and ambition, be it good or bad. Wu Qi wanted to unify China. Yotanwa wishes to unite all mountain clans under her. Wu Sen wants to become a king, and Kanki, well, Kanki I still am not too sure of, but I think he just wanted a better life for his friends and to prove that they aren't scum, but the world itself is. And as for Shin, well, we've known his goal since the very beginning of Kingdom, literally the first chapter, to have his name echo across all of China and be the greatest general under the heavens. And this is clearly as good a dream as any. So to sum up, I think it's fair to say that Shin is the embodiment of strength granted to him through his drive and countless trials, and he has become an instinctual leader thanks to the lessons he learned from Du Qiu and the wisdom of a general thanks to Wu Qi's teachings. And all of this is backed by his wish to fulfill his dream, carrying the fire of all those who have passed theirs onto him. So obviously Shin has basically passed all the requirements to become a great general, but is he more deserving than Wu Han and Mu Ten? He has passed every requirement with flying colors except one, and that one being, as I mentioned earlier, where he never took the lead in a campaign, with him being the head general. Kanki had Kokoyu Hills, To had Choyu, etc, 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 and they were in charge of the roughly the same amount of people as Shin is now. Actually, they were in charge of less people now that I think about it. And after such an outstanding success, Shin is in need of an equally outstanding reward. But so is Wu Han and Mu Ten technically, because they took on extremely difficult odds, and also, as far as we know, they succeeded. Now we don't know that for certain, but I want to just presume that these two did just as well as Shin did, given that they arguably had harder odds because they were both in armies of 50,000 and they were taking on armies of 100,000. So yes, I do believe Shin will get the promotion to Great General very soon. He is absolutely deserving, but there's also the chance that Kanyo will delay his official promotion until things calm down in Han. It's a question of when, not if, at this point. And so Kingdom fans, if you've made it to the end of this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this subject and any of the points I made. And also feel free to smash that like button, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button. And I hope to see you in the next one.